This is the wartime timeline for the 748th Tank Battalion. It covers from its activation on August 20, 1942 at Camp, now Fort, Rucker until the end of the war on May 8, 1945 after they arrived Linz and Haag in Austria. Due to its width, it was necessary to stretch the screenshot so it would fit intact on a slide. Unfortunately, it makes the stretched words difficult to read. August 20, 1942, the 748th Tank Battalion, medium was activated at Camp Rucker, Alabama. I am aware Pop was at Camp Rucker. Pop's war portion of service spanned January 30, 1942 to September 22, 1945. Some of the information provided in this presentation was obtained from an internet story about the dedication of a monument in Arizona in 2009. Information there differs some from the 748th War album but is contained in this presentation. April 15, 1943, the 748th headed for Fort Knox for training. I am aware Pop was at Fort Knox during his service. April 20, 1943, the 748th was reorganized as a special battalion equipped with CDL, canal defense lighting, spotlights. July 15, 1943, the 748th departed Fort Knox for Camp Bouse, Arizona. I do not remember Pop ever mentioning being in Arizona. August 30, 1943, the 748th was attached to the 9th Armored Tank Group and arrived at Camp Bouse on September 1, 1943 as a CDL, Canal Defense Lighting, unit. Again, I am not aware of Pop mentioning having been in Arizona. This slide shows an overview of the route by the 748th from initial arrival in Scotland through until the end of the war for them in Austria. The following slides will show a more zoomed-in view for each stop or action with a brief explanation. April 6, 1944, the unit landed at Glasgow, Scotland, and then proceeded to South Wales. Scotland is not mentioned in the unit's war album. I do not remember Pop ever mentioning being in Scotland. Movement to Crymitch was likely accomplished via rail and would have probably passed through Manchester, England. The album begins with the 748th arriving in Crymitch, Wales on April 9, 1944. April 9, 1944 arrived Camp Quarry Heights near Crymitch in Pembroke County, Wales. April 9, 1944 to August 18, 1944 the 748th spent 132 days training in the vicinity of Crymitch. During the training period, the men of the 748th visited several nearby towns including Carmarthen, Haverfordwest, Cardigan, and Tenby. I have contacted the Pembroke County Historical Society and obtained more specific location maps and sketches for Camp Quarry Heights and various training areas used by the 748th. The next few slides show more detailed location information received from the Historical Society. A few of the slides display remaining evidence of tank training conducted during World War II. I obtained this information in preparation for a planned trip to the area in May of this year, 2020, but unfortunately did not make the trip due to quarantine due to the Wuhan virus. This trip will be rescheduled for the future. This slide specific shows the overall training area used by the 748th during their 132 days spent at Camp Quarry Heights. This slide provides the relief of the training area shown in the previous slide. It provides approximate elevations that would have been experienced during the training. This slide shows an actual sketch from the requisitioning papers from the Pembrokeshire County Records Office dating from April 4, 1944 concerning U.S. military training sites. This document references a location near Minaklogdu that the Historical Society person thinks the actual Camp Quarry Heights, CQH. Pop's war album states the 748th arrived at CQH to pyramidal tents all set up along hedgerows. In this slide, there are rows of X's appearing to show where the tents were set up. The Historical Society person actually visited this location and he feels this is the location of CQH. The photo inset is a current-day overhead view of this location. Note, there are three things seemingly confirming this as the CQH location. 1. The road intersection is the sum shape as shown in the county record. 2. Trafach noted on the county record appears to be the current location of Trafach Country Club and Holiday Park, and 3. The relative location of quarries in the county record appears to coincide with old quarries in the overhead view. On the left is a current overhead photo of an area of the Priestley mountain range, tank range near Brynbirian Egelweisru of Romney hut slab foundations. These huts were prefabricated steel structures used by the British military during World War II. They were constructed using a clamped tubular steel frame with a central entrance and used for accommodating facilities for large storage, workshops, aircraft hangars, and maybe, in this case, for tanks or tank repair. The photo inset shows a Romney hut today. For an aircraft or tank hangar or repair hut, the ends would likely be open providing for pass-through traffic, ventilation, and nature lighting during daylight hours. On the right is a current overhead photo of a World War II training area also in the Priestley mountain range, tank range showing remaining evidence of tank track circles at Wanbruinant near Lanbarayan. The middle photo inset is a zoomed-in view of the circles. August 19, 1944 The 748th got orders to move out to the port at Swansea, Wales for voyage to France. The war was now upon them. "6 days on the sea to France travelled aboard the USS Daniel Heister and 6 LSDs. August 24, 1944 finally landed at Omaha Beach. Photos of LSTEs appear on the next slide. Shown here are two photos taken during the invasion showing two different LSDs as they came ashore for unloading men and equipment. These illustrate the appearance of the USS Daniel Heister the 748th voyaged on in August to France. One of the differences with the war album and the 748th monument in Arizona is that the 748th landed at Utah Beach on D-Day, June 6, 1944, during the Normandy invasion. Previous slide stated the 748th landed at Omaha Beach on August 24, 1944, that is in accordance with the unit war album. During D-Day, the monument information states the 748th was under the command of General Bradley who was in charge of the Third Army at that time. I do not recall Pop ever mentioning Bradley, only Patton. August 24, 1944 landed at Omaha Beach. August 24, 1944 to October 5, 1944 more training in the area of Genets and visits to surrounding towns of Mont Saint-Michel and Martagne. October 6, 1944 to November 10, 1944 moved to Jowloville on the west coast of Cherbourg Peninsula, and Granville. November 11, 1944 to December 20, 1944 moved to new training area at French Army training site Camp de Côte-Quitton near Rennes. December 21, 1944 travel via trains to Hagondange, France. After arriving Hagondange, France, we experienced our first ground operations against the German enemy when we were committed the Ardennes, Battle of the Bulge, campaign in final days of actions. December 31, 1944 we were back in Hagondange. January 1, 1945 to January 31, 1945 back at Hagondange after the Battle of the Bulge. We then moved up to the Siegfried Line for actions against German enemy in the Saar-Moselle Triangle and the towns of Nennig, Berg, Butzdorf, and Tettingen in this area. After these actions, we had an opportunity for a respite and equipment maintenance. March 13, 1945 to March 20, 1945 departing from the Metz, which we called the Gateway to Hell, started the famous breakthrough at Saar-Lothern. Appendix A at the end of this presentation is a summary of operations as reported by the 65th Infantry Division that the 748th Company C an assault gun platoon was attached. Appendix B at the end of this presentation is the March 1945 after action report as issued by the 748th. March 20, 1945 Pops Assault Gun Platoon and Company C rejoins main 748th Force for the 165-mile march to the Rhine River. Early April 1945 Rhine River crossing was accomplished at Oppenheim and St. Goar. Advanced elements crossed at Oppenheim, while others crossed at St. Goar and advanced toward Springen. Again, with the Rhine now crossed, we took about a week for R&R and equipment maintenance. April 6, 1945 to April 10, 1945 then we proceeded with our advance toward Wiesbaden, then on to Frankfurt. This map is an excerpt from an overall map illustrating the American forces' actions against the German enemy in the Saar-Moselle Triangle area between January 1, 1945 and March 1, 1945. The left side shows the actions conducted by the 748th during January of 1945. The map shows 3 of the towns referred to in the previous slide. Not very far to the southeast is the area of actions conducted by the 748th during a few weeks in March of 1945, also referred to in the previous slide and called the Gateway to Hell, and started the famous breakthrough at Saar-Lothern. The next slide will show this area. As mentioned in the previous slide, this map is an excerpt of what is referred to as the Saar-Palatinate Triangle area. It illustrates position conditions between March 12, 1945 and March 21, 1945 and shows the area of actions conducted by the 748th during a few weeks in March of 1945. Again, it was called the Gateway to Hell as they went into action during the breakthrough at Saar-Lothern. By April 10, 1945 we had advanced through Wiesbaden on to Frankfurt and arrived Bad Hersfeld, and continued eastward toward Dresden via Arnstadt for linking up with the Russians. April 10, 1945 to May 1, 1945, however, on the way to Dresden, we were redirected south toward Bavaria and Neumarkt via Dorf-Lienz for actions against the SS. May 4, 1945 after actions taken against the SS in Bavaria, we then proceeded southeastward crossing the Danube at Regensburg, then continued to Passau, Austria. May 4, 1945 to May 8, 1945 after crossing the Inn River at Passau, continued toward Linz and ultimately Haag, our final bivouac area where the war ended for us. Monument erected by the citizens of Baus, the Lost Dutchman chapter, the Billy Holcomb chapter and John P. Squibob chapter of the Ancient and Honorable Order of E. Clampus Vitus. October 3, 2015. This memorial is dedicated to the fighting men of the 748th Tank Battalion by their brother-in-arms, Henry Lines, a member of the service company. Appendix A. Saar-Lothern Campaign, March 1945. Pops Assault Gun Platoon was attached to the 65th Infantry Division during this time, and the following is information about Saar-Lothern actions. 1 Commanding General, 65th Infantry Division Major General Stanley E. Reinhardt January 21, 1945. Component of the 65th Infantry Division was the 259th Infantry Commanding Officer Colonel Louis B. Rutt January 21, 1945. 3 Action and campaigns of the 65th Infantry Division. Entered combat, March 9, 1945, days in combat, 55, the Rhineland and Central Europe. Among attachments to the 65th Infantry Division was Company C 748th Tank Battalion from March 13 to March 21, 1945. On March 13, 1945, the 261st Infantry Regiment crossed the Saar River near Dillingen to clear the German defenders near the town of Merzig. On March 17, 1945, the 261st Infantry Regiment cleared the heights south of Merzig and took the town of Dillingen the following day. On March 19, 1945, the rest of the division fought its way out of the bridgehead as the 259th Infantry Regiment captured the town of Froylautern and the 260th Infantry Regiment seized Saarlautern. Then on March 21, 1945, the division fought its way through the West Wall and captured the town of Neunkirchen. It then assembled near Otzweiler for R&R, rest and rehabilitation. Appendix B. March 1945 After action report of the 748th Tank Battalion. Note: some words were illegible due to overstamps at bottom of pages such as secret or restricted, then strike through of these classifications. 2 Chronological history of events. A1 to March 15, 1945, 748th Tank Battalion was in Hagondange, France, VU 864732, training with DD, duplex drive or swimming or amphibious, tanks and CDL tanks. Practiced river crossings being made at site 1 mile south of Ukanga, France in conjunction with 1301 Engineer Regiment. B. March 16, 1945, Company C, AG, assault gun, platoon attached, departed Hagondange, France at 0710 hours, arrived Tederchen, France, VQ 145710, at 10:30 hours. Attached to 65th Infantry Division. Officers made reconnaissance in Saarlautern-Roden in preparation for pending action. Company C- departed Tederchen, France at 2000 hours, arrived Saarlautern, Germany at 2200 hours. Bivouacked there for the night. C. March 17, 1945, 1st and 2nd Platoons of Company C attached to 259th Infantry Regiment, 3rd Platoon and AG Platoon, 6105s, attached to 260th Infantry reconnaissance made by platoon leaders of sectors to be fought in. Crews maintained vehicles. D. March 18, 1945. 1st Platoon Company C, departed Saarlautern, Germany at 0230 hours, arrived assembly area at Saarlautern-Roden at 0300 hours to support 2nd Battalion, 259th Infantry Regiment. In assault on pillboxes to the east of town. Tanks fired on pillboxes and protected flank of battalion. By firing to southwest. Assisted infantry in taking several boxes and advanced to an anti-tank ditch approximately 500 yards from line of departure. Here infantry dug in awaiting the advance of the company on their left. Tanks returned to attack position, assisted in picking up wounded infantry and tank crews on the way back. At 1430 hours Lieutenant Bellowden SP, platoon leader, accompanied by another tank, went forward carrying ammunition for the infantry company in the anti-tank ditch. This tank was hit by an 88 and burned. Tank commander of another tank was wounded when he dismounted trying to rescue men from burning tank. One other tank attempted to rescue platoon leader's crew but were driven off by heavy fire. Enemy killed 4, machine guns destroyed. 2nd Platoon Company C, jumped off at 0600 hours to support left company of 2nd Battalion, 259th Infantry tanks preceded infantry to pillboxes, firing into openings and had boxes buttoned up. Had difficulty in getting infantry to come up to the boxes, even after 2 tanks were at the rear door of several boxes. Finally got the infantry up, but they had no charges to blow the boxes. One tank hit by bazooka near pillbox, since squad assigned to protect tank had disappeared. One tank hit mine advancing to pillboxes. One fell in shell hole. Two remaining tanks advanced up and down the pillbox line and up to anti-tank ditch until all ammunition was fired, then they returned to company command post for resupply of ammunition. Infantry failed to take boxes and withdrew. 3rd Platoon, Company C departed Saarlottern at 0510 hours, arrived Saarlottern Roden at 0600 hours. Platoon was attached to 2nd Battalion, 260th Infantry tanks were kept in reserve all day. Returned to Saarlottern at 2000 hours. Assault Gun Platoon departed Saarlottern at 0500 hours, arrived Saarlottern Roden at 0515 waited in assembly area until 0600 hours. Were attached to 2nd Battalion, 260th Infantry to assist in clearing enemy from the several blocks the enemy still held in northeast section of the town. 1. Appendix B, continued. Section moved to support the right company. An infantry guide leading the tanks stepped over a daisy chain of anti-tank mines in a street declared clear by the infantry and directed the lead tank onto the mines. Both tracks were blown. Other two tanks continued, after street was cleared, and supported infantry by firing on houses, pillboxes, etc. Second section supported left company by firing on strong points as directed. 7 POWs were captured when tank tried out his flamethrower on a known strong point. Enemy killed 15, enemy captured 7, 1 machine gun destroyed. Losses for company: 1 officer killed, 4 M missing, 1 officer and 9 M wounded, 1 tank destroyed, 4 tanks disabled. A March 19, 1945. 1st, 3rd Platoon attached to 259th Infantry Regiment, Assault Gun Platoon attached to 260th Infantry Regiment, 2nd Platoon was inoperative. Assault Gun Platoon departed Saarlottern at 0800 hours, arrived Saarlottern Roden at 0815 hours. Heavy fog caused tanks to remain in battalion reserve all day. Enemy withdrew during the previous night and during the fog, so town was taken. At 1700 hours, Assault Gun Platoon attached to 261st Infantry Regiment. Tanks returned to Saarlottern to await orders from new regiment. Enemy captured 1. 1st and 3rd Platoons, Company C attached 1st Battalion, 259th Infantry Regiment remained in reserve at Saarlottern. At 12:30 hours both platoons departed Saarlottern, arrived Saarlottern Roden at 1300 hours. Departed Saarlottern Roden at 13:30 hours, moved east, crossed anti-tank ditch filled in by 748th Tank Dozer, and arrived on highway to Saarwellengen. Moved on to high ground southeast of Saarwelgen. No enemy was contacted. Both platoons returned to Saarlottern at 1900 hours. B. March 20, 1945. 1st and 3rd Platoons, Company C attached 1st Battalion, 259th Infantry departed Saarlottern at 0830 hours, arrived Saarwelgen, Germany at 1130 hours. Remained in west side of town in regimental reserve. No enemy contacted. Assault Gun Platoon departed Saarlottern at 0800 hours, arrived Saarwellengen, Germany at 1100 hours. Went into position east side of town in regimental reserve of 261st Infantry. No contact with the enemy. At 2100 hours, message received from 3rd Army to move 748th Tank Battalion on the March 21 to 12 Corps. Company C to be disengaged from 65th Infantry Division, XX Corps. S3 an advance party to 12 Corps and explain duplexy drive equipment to Corps G3. See March 21, 1945. Advance party departed Hagondange, France at 0730 hours, arrived Simmern, Germany at 1300 hours. Reported to G3 Corps, were first attached to 89th Infantry Division, but upon explaining that the equipment of the battalion consisted of amphibious tanks, order was changed and battalion assigned to 5th Infantry Division. 748th Tank Battalion, less Company C, Assault Gun Platoon, and Echelon B, departed Hagondange, France at 1400 hours, arrived Wittleck, Germany at 2200 hours. Company C departed Sarwell engine, Germany at 0330A, arrived Hagondenge, France at 1020A. Turned, over, lighter, tanks and prepared DD tanks for March to 12 Corps.